The Celeste Rivas Hernandez grand jury is most likely reviewing different sets of evidence than we initially thought. I'm going to break down what I mean by that. And I know it's been a while since we've discussed the Celeste Rivas Hernandez case, which we are staying on top of because it's just one of those cases that you really can't stop thinking about. This very little girl, she was 14 years old. She was found deceased in the frunk of singer David's Tesla in September of 2025. And gosh, it's now January of 2026, and no arrests have been made. We previously reported that one of our independent sources, as well as TMZ, did indicate that the grand jury is moving things along and an indictment will be imminent, and it most likely will be David, the singer, who will be indicted. However, we're not really sure yet if he's going to be indicted for a red rum or a homicide or something else, abuse of a corpse. We don't know yet. Things are still up in the air. However, many of you know that even if there's nothing crazy going on or no scoops to report on this case, I do like to keep this in the news so that people don't forget about Celeste. She deserves justice. And if you follow the private investigator Steve Fisher on his Twitter, I can pull it up a little bit later, but he has also posted some photos of her that he found. And I believe, I can't recall exactly if he attributed these to what he found inside the home, because he is contracted with the homeowner to investigate the case, because the homeowner was like, hello, my home that David lived in is a really big part of this. So he tapped Steve, and Steve got a bunch of stuff from the home, like hard drives, USBs. So on these USBs and these hard drives, Steve found photos, and he found Celeste. So I'll pull those up in a minute, but I want to show you the most recent article from LA Magazine, where Mark Garagos, criminal defense attorney, one of our favorites, he gave us some very good information as to what he believes the grand jury is seeing right now when it comes to the case. So initially, we had said it's going to be witnesses they're talking to, law enforcement, etc. Well, Mark Garagos pointed out that most likely they are also, and I'm talking about the LADA's office and the LAPD, but the LADA's office has most likely tapped experts, forensic experts, that will come in and possibly determine a cause of death for Celeste. Why he said this and why I agree is because we had previously reported that there seems to be some kind of rift between the LAPD and the DA's office and the Los Angeles medical examiner's office, because the DA's office, per the LAPD, was able to place a hold on the medical examiner's office with their release of any cause or manner of death pertaining to Celeste Rivas Hernandez. And the medical examiner's office was not happy about this. They put out a statement essentially saying how much they disagreed with this. They want to give the public transparency. And I think part of the reason was, I do believe that they possibly said that a cause of death for Celeste would be deferred. I don't know that, but in this case, it's quite possible that the LAPD was like, no, it's not deferred. There's no way it can be deferred because of XYZ. So the DA's office was like, okay, we're going to bring in our own forensic experts to review, independently review Celeste's body, do their own autopsy, and then if they are satisfied with what these outside experts find, then they will present that to the grand jury. I thought this was such a good point to bring up, because it's not that you can't charge someone with a homicide when the cause of death is deferred. You absolutely can. It just might be a little bit more difficult. And in this case, what we have heard about Celeste's body and the state of her body, that it was just very, very badly decomposed, making things that much more difficult for the medical examiner's office. So let me just go through the article there was a few things that he said. Okay, so Garrigo said he suspects the DA's office has brought in 2 or 3, at least, outside experts to reevaluate medical and evidentiary findings related to Hernandez's death. So he, again, reiterated that the friction between the agencies became very publicly visible after prosecutors obtained the court-ordered security holds, blocking the medical examiner's office from releasing details about Celeste's autopsy and manner of death. Garrigo said, that tells me they need more than what the medical examiner's office has given them. The medical examiner's office has publicly stated they're not buying what the DA is selling. I suspect they've got outside experts taking all of the ME stuff, taking all of the evidence, and doing a thorough job of reevaluating to present to a grand jury. He also said something else that was interesting based on previous reports, and myself included, that this was an investigative grand jury. He basically said, no, no, no. This is definitely not an investigative grand jury, which cannot result in recommending charges or resulting in an indictment. They can only recommend subpoenas for evidence and witnesses. He said there's no way that the DA's office would bring in veteran prosecutor Beth Silverman. She's a longtime member of the DA's major crimes unit, and she's known for securing convictions in very complex homicide cases. So he's like, there's no way, after giving this some thought, that they would bring in Beth Silverman if they didn't have any shot of recommending any charges. And I thought that was a really good point. And that's why, I love being on the ground for a lot of these cases. And again, I am LA Magazine's East Coast contributor, so I am on the ground for every New York case. But I am so invested in this case. I wish that I was in Los Angeles just to be hanging out by the courthouse. I'd go right up to the 13th floor. I would probably just corner Beth Silverman and ask her questions, because I don't care. I don't care about getting embarrassed. I would do it in a respectful way, and most likely she would not talk to me, but I want the opportunity to get myself familiarized with these people, have them be familiar with me, because, I do that in Manhattan criminal court, in federal court, and I'm telling you, it goes a long way. You find out information. So right now, I'm doing the best I can to get sources on the ground in LA to continue to trust me to be able to share more information with me than they normally would. So I found all of that very, very promising. I really did. And I think that also goes to why this is taking so long. They're not just talking to witnesses. They're not just thumbing through cell phone data or, iCloud data. They're bringing in outside experts to reevaluate forensics. And that does not take any short amount of time. I mean, I think, independent toxicology reports will take weeks. Of course, doing thorough autopsies takes some time. You've got all this testing they have to send out to third-party labs. So I think, we got to factor all of this in. And we also previously reported that the DA's office did indicate that they had more witnesses in February. So again, don't expect this to be resolved anytime soon. But I think that it's very wonderful that we are keeping this in the news and that information is circulating to us getting one step closer to finding justice for Celeste. Okay, so let me go to Steve Fisher. I want to pull up quickly the photos that he posted of Celeste. Here, let me share this tab. Make sure everyone can see it. Okay, so this was January 2nd, 2025, and he said this was the last known photo of Celeste. And I had previously reported this because he told me he just hadn't shared this photo yet. So he said it's important to emphasize that law enforcement investigators have access to more extensive resources that may very well have images or evidence from after this date, but this is what he has. He said the geolocation shows that it was taken in Baldwin Hills, California. I thought there was another one. And also, no, I think this was the one. Yes. What Celeste is wearing in this sweatshirt, it seems to be very, very specific. It has all these rips and these holes in it. And I'm almost certain that if one goes back to David's photos, they would find a sweatshirt very similar to this. I remember seeing it. I do, because I've seen this photo before. And the first thing I did was go and look at David's photos. And yes, there is something very similar to this. So, and also I want to just, let me see, Baldwin Hills, California. Again, I think geolocations are so important. Baldwin Hills, California, distance from LA. Let's see. The distance there is about 18 to 25 miles. Okay, so that's 30, 45 minutes. Who knows with LA traffic? Let's check on Baldwin, California from, let's see, Riverside, where she was from. It's about 45 minutes from Riverside. I mean, this checks out. Yeah. So again, nothing crazy happening, but I just thought that maybe this would be helpful for everybody to listen to. And again, we will do our best to keep everybody updated with anything that we find, anything that we have to move this case forward and get justice for this little girl. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll be back on Monday with more of the Los Angeles Magazine's daily pop culture, scandal, and crime news podcast.